I'm going to talk today about my tips, tricks, and just general advice for studying abroad or going to a foreign country. Just a bit of background. I did a 6-week study abroad program in Italy. It was my school's spring semester. And I lived with a host family. I had a host mom. It was a great experience. And I had a great time. And these are just some tips and tricks that I learned or knew. Most of them I didn't know before, so these are things I kind of wish I had known. So hopefully they will help you in your study abroad adventures. The first one, you're going to hear it from a lot of people, but you need to pack light. For many reasons, you're going to buy more souvenirs and gifts and clothes than you think you are. It's expensive if your bag is overweight. It can be like $100. So I really packed light. I had maybe 8 shirts, 3 pants, a short, a dress. If you're living with a host family, I really think you should bring gifts for your host family. Bring something that's kind of special to the country, or in my case, like I brought something that was special to the state that I'm from. That way you can have a conversation about it, and it's a good thing to talk about first. You're talking about yourself. And it was just really fun to give my host mom gifts that were special to where I was from. And it shows that you care and that you want to share your culture as much as they're sharing their culture with you. I'm going to talk about chargers and adapters. If you want to make sure that your devices are going to not get fried or anything, you should get an adapter. I have an iPhone and an Apple computer. So what I did was I just bought a special adapter for Italy. This is actually not an adapter for Italy, this is for the UK, but it came in a pack. And what you do is, here's a MacBook Pro charger, and you just slide it in. And it's not really even converting it, it's just like you bought it in the UK or you bought it in Europe. I would recommend doing this because you're doing the least amount of damage to your laptop. Once you're using converters and converting things, some things aren't always converted perfectly and your laptop battery can just kind of get fried or might not charge properly. And I got a smaller cube for my iPhone. They're like these mini cubes, and I just slid my adapter or my like European charger thing into that. So I think that's the safest thing to do. I didn't have any other electronics that I was going to be adapting, so I only needed an Apple adapter. Also about charging straighteners and stuff, straighteners, blow dryers, curlers, those will get fried and die. Everyone has told me that. I didn't even bring my straightener. It's just not meant to convert that, even if you use a converter. Next I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi, service, how to call people, you know, what to do with all of that. You kind of have 3 options. I wanted to be able to contact my host mom to tell her if I wasn't going to be there for dinner, or just to, you know, have a way to communicate with her. And if I had Wi-Fi, I would just use WhatsApp. Wi-Fi was honestly not that easy to find. There was a coffee shop that had Wi-Fi, but you had to get the code, which I had, but it just, you couldn't rely on Wi-Fi. Like one time I needed Wi-Fi to map something, so I had to bike all the way to the coffee shop and like lurk outside of it to get connected to their Wi-Fi to find out where I was supposed to go. So you really can't rely on Wi-Fi. You need to get used to not having data and Wi-Fi. You should turn your roaming off, which I have to turn my roaming off actually. And I had gone through my data amount in 2 hours, or maybe a day. I don't know. It was crazy and it cost us $25. Luckily I found it so I could turn it off, but you have three options. You could rely on Wi-Fi, which is a little iffy, and I don't think anybody in my group really just solely relied on Wi-Fi. 2, you can buy a 40 euro or cheap flip phone that has like 100 messages, 100 text messages and 100 minutes, which is what a lot of kids did in my program. Or you can get an international plan, which I did, so I just went on Verizon, bought an international plan, so I had 100 text messages and 100 minutes of calling. And when I wanted to use that, I would just turn on voice roaming only, not data roaming, and I would be able to text my host mom or call her, and it worked perfectly. I never had a problem with it. Next is medicine. Make sure that the medicine you're bringing into your country is legal there, and make sure that you either have enough to get you through the time you're going to spend there, or that it's illegal for people to send you refills. So check with that, because people have been arrested over that, and we don't want that. Money. So it really varies with what bank you have. For me, it was super expensive to take out euros with the bank I have. So I had an international credit card that had no extra costs, and I would use that. However, I will say that most people didn't use credit cards, as in Italians don't use credit cards often. So it kind of takes longer to use a credit card because most people just pay with the exact amount. But it was easier for me and cheaper for me to do that, so just keep that in mind. If you're going to use cash, you're going to go through it a lot faster than you think. Just because food, bus tickets, train tickets, there's a whole lot of stuff. And in Italy, they really like you to have exact change. Let's say something costs 19 euro, 19.42 euro. And so you're like, okay, I'll pay with a 20 euro bill. And they'll be like, 20 euro bill. They'll say, can you pay with 20 euros and 42 cents? That way we have the exact change. I'm not sure why they did that. I think they didn't have much change. But every single store I went to really liked to have exact change. And change was something we all ran out of so much. And you need change for a lot of stuff. Like bathrooms, which will be the next point. You have to pay for bathrooms and train stations. That was something I wasn't expecting. So it's 1 euro, 2 euro, 50 cents. It's traumatizing, but yeah. Another thing you have to pay for that you don't in the United States at least is water. At restaurants, you have to pay for each bottle of water you get. So I would recommend buying a water bottle from the grocery store. You can get a giant water bottle that's bigger than my face. It's really big. For 50 cents. And as long as you're not going to be lugging it around, then it's so much cheaper. I had to bike to school. It was about 20, 25, 30-minute bike ride. Most people biked, and you just bike around everywhere where I was. So I would check to make sure to see how many bikers there are in your city. Because if you don't know how to bike, it might be something you want to learn how to do. Also, helmets were not a thing where I was, and I was very scared. So put learn to bike on your list because it may be useful. My bike broke one time, but this really nice Italian guy helped me, and I learned a lot of Italian in that experience. So learning is important. My program let us go on side trips. You should check out hostels to stay in. For Rimini, we stayed there one night. We stayed in the hostel. It was between $10 and $20 per night for each person. It was a very great hostel. It was safe. It was clean. Hostels are basically bunk rooms. In my room there were 6 bunk beds, so 6 beds in total, 3 bunk beds. Luckily, I knew everybody in the room, which was nice, so I didn't have to worry about locking my stuff up in a separate cubby. It was great. So just check out hostels. They're super inexpensive. People usually have really great experiences with them in Italy. I don't know how they are in other countries, but in Italy, hostels are really big. I'm going to talk about school, which is why I was there. It was hard to juggle school and being in this new country and wanting to explore everywhere and go on these trips. You do have to make sacrifices. Although you have to make sacrifices, you can also kind of make things work. Train rides are 2 hours maybe if you're going somewhere far. To go to Rome on a fast train, it's a little less than 3 hours. And we would bring flashcards, we would study on the train, so we traveled while also studying. That's just something to keep in mind. Depending on your course load, you know, it is still school. Only like 3 nights where I was like, oh my god, this is horrible, but I feel like for a college semester, having like 3 meltdowns is not that bad. I usually have like 20, so not actually 20, maybe 15. I don't know, college is stressful for me. I make it stressful for myself. I admit that. Trains. So in Italy, trains are super reliable, super great and convenient, except when there's a strike. Sometimes there was strikes. There's only 2 strikes while I was there, and only one of them affected me. Besides strikes, trains are great. The tickets are really inexpensive. To go to Rome, which is way on the other end of where I was. Rome was in the south. I was way up in the north. To go to Rome, it was about $50 for a train ticket, and that was to go on the really fast train. If you want to go on a slow train, it would be maybe even cheaper. It just takes a really long time. So trains are great. I feel like all of Europe, the trains are super great, super random, but if you're a peanut butter lover like me, peanut butter isn't a thing in Italy and in most of Europe. I don't think it is. They sell it at some places, but it's not just something that people have. My host mom bought me a jar because I told her how much I missed it. So that was really nice, but it's just not something that's like a super big deal. Nutella is huge there. There'll just be rows and rows of Nutella. I think that was most of my advice. There's probably a ton more. If you have any questions, just leave the questions down below. I learned so much. The study abroad, I would highly recommend it. Just have a great time if you're going to study abroad. And I have a lot of interesting stories from my study abroad trip. You know, not knowing the language, just, you know, create some good memories. So if you want to hear about those, just let me know.